game is just played. Come after me! I'm a man! I'm 40! Can't wait! Let's go!
Good morning and welcome. Welcome to Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show here on Sports Empire Network. Thank you so much for joining us, however it is that you are joining us this morning, whether you are watching on Facebook or YouTube, or you are over there on Roku TV as part of Northeast Streaming Sports. We appreciate you being here with us. Of course, I am Chris, and that is Mo. Mo, how are you this morning, sir?
Great sports weekend. We had a little bit of everything. NFL, NCAA. There was even a big heavyweight boxing match. Great sports weekend. Not a great sports weekend if you are a Niners fan.
No, and we will get to that shortly. But Mo, let's start with this. Let's start with the Sunday night football game last night. The Chargers were able to overcome, if you want to say.
I like
they
that
were
word.
Right, overcome. They were able to knock off the Chicago Bears. Now, this doesn't happen a lot with us as of late on the morning show, but we predicted that the Chargers should handle the Bears fairly easily, and that actually went our way. So props to us, Mo, for not being completely wrong.
It'd be nice.
But predictably, after that happened, you're now getting the rhetoric of, well, is this the turning point, Mo? Is this that moment where the Chargers start to put it all together? Look at what Justin Herbert did last night. He completed his first 15 passes. He completed 80% of his passes overall. He had 3 touchdowns, no interceptions, or whatever it was. Mo, I hear that, and I say to myself, you know what? The Chargers played a great football game last night. Justin Herbert, for the most part, looked really, really good. But Mo, doesn't it matter who you're playing? And don't the previous 6 or 7 games matter as well? Because yes, last night was a great game. I will take nothing away from what it was the Chargers accomplished in that game last night. But last night doesn't change what we've seen so far the entire season from this team. And last night doesn't change what this team struggles with and is going to continue to struggle with. So while I don't want to say last night wasn't a great performance, Mo, I have a hard time now believing this is a playoff team.
And it shouldn't be that way. I thought coming into the season, this was one of the 4, maybe 5 best teams in the AFC, loaded with talent on both sides of the ball. And like you said, last night, terrific wire-to-wire performance. But the previous games that we've seen this season, that resume that they've built up this season, their current overall resume, that's who they are. I know what we saw last night, but for the better part of the season, that's who they are. If you're a Chargers fan, I understand the optimism. You get that win, and you want to feel like, well, when we're playing right, this is who we are. We'll blow out Kansas City. We'll blow out the Dolphins and whoever's in our way. And I get the optimism. But if you really know your club and you take a closer look, inconsistency is your middle name. And while I admire the win, like I said, it was impressive. I think the optimism should be a little bit more tempered. To me, if you're the Chargers or Charger fans, it is on a game basis that I will judge you. I will believe that they've turned a corner when I see it. I'll believe they've turned a corner when they reel off 3 or 4 wins in a row. But for right now, I'm going to say they beat a Bears team that they should have beat, and I'll leave it at that.
Now, I don't like to nitpick, but if you are a Chargers fan and you think that this is some sort of an indicator of great things to come, then fine. Let's be fair and let's have this conversation. At halftime, the Chargers were up 24-7. At halftime, Justin Herbert was 21 for 25 passing the football. You didn't outscore the Bears in the second half. It was 6-6 in the second half. And Justin Herbert finished his passing day 31 for 40. You did nothing in the second half of that football game against a team that you throttled in the first half of the game. And this is what the Chargers are. They played a great half of football against a really bad team. And you couldn't even play a second great half of football against a really bad team. That is what the Chargers are. So you know what? Take the win, enjoy it. Unfortunately, you don't play the Bears next week. And unfortunately, you don't play the Bears 3 weeks from now. And unfortunately, you don't have the Bears 6 more times on your schedule. Because if you did, then you know what? This win might say something. But you don't. So you're going to have to come back to reality, and you're going to have to play teams that are better than the Bears. And unfortunately, when that happens, you're not going to end up getting the same result that you got here tonight. And that doesn't mean the Chargers don't have the potential to be a good team. It just means that we need to pump the brakes on this conversation about the Chargers being a playoff team. Now, when you look at the Chargers schedule moving forward, again, there's opportunities out there. You play the Jets next week. You should throttle the Jets. But the Jets have a great defense. And this Chargers offense has proven to struggle when they play good defenses. After the Jets, you play the Lions. That's not going to be a walk in the park. Then you have the Ravens still on your schedule this season. You have the Bills on your schedule this season. The Chiefs are on there. There's some games out there that, you're not that level yet. So I'm not going to sit here and say that it's improbable for a team this morning that is one game under 500 to put together some wins and make a wild card game, Mo. But if you had to ask me and you wanted an honest answer, I would say no. The Chargers are not a wild card team.
I don't think they're going to make the playoffs as well. The teams that you just reeled off, that's in their immediate future, I don't think they can beat any of them. I really don't. I just don't think there's something wrong, and I don't think it's just talent. It's in the coaching. It's something in the locker room, the coaching. There's a lack of leadership, maybe a lack of accountability on both sides of the football. And it starts with your head coach. You can go on with the GM as well, but it starts with your head coach. The GM chose the head coach. They need a change. They need an identity change because I'm not even sure what their identity is. What we know is they have a talented young quarterback, and I think he was going to be their identity. Everything was going to be built around him, and he hasn't been consistent as well. I just look at a team that, for all its talent, it looks like a franchise that's in need of a makeover.
Yeah, it's hard to argue with that, and it's Mo, numbers only take you so far. And that's what Justin Herbert had the luxury of riding his first couple of seasons in the league. He rode the numbers that he was putting up as a rookie quarterback and as a second-year quarterback. He rode the fact that injuries hampered this team at points. He didn't have his two best wide receivers consistently on the field, and that was an excuse for a little bit. But there comes a point in time where when the losses keep piling up, you have to overcome as a starting quarterback in this league, especially when you are being viewed as a top 10 quarterback, which he consistently is. He's consistently viewed as a top 10 quarterback in this league. He's consistently viewed in that conversation right below tier one. So tier one is, Mahomes and Allen was in there for a little bit and Burrow's in there and whoever you put in there, those 3 or 4 quarterbacks that you have in tier one, he's always put in tier 2, or at least he was up until this season. And you were putting someone into the tier 2 conversation that just blew a 4-touchdown lead in a playoff game last season, or up until that point hadn't even made it to the playoffs and kept having disappointing losses in games that he probably should have won. So when you look at the body of work, Mo, I understand why people like Justin Herbert. I understand the talent that is Justin Herbert, but at some point, wins have to come over everything else. And last night was a great win, but like you said, Mo, win 3 in a row, win 4 out of 5, win 6 out of 8. Then we can have a conversation, because until he starts winning consistently, then we are going to have more of an issue when it comes, or at least me and you are going to have more of an issue when it comes to anointing Justin Herbert as a top 10 quarterback in this league. But Mo, something you and I don't have an issue with, that's bringing JG on the show.
Never.
Never have an issue having JG on the show with us this morning. And we have JG coming on right now to talk a little bit of Major League Baseball, and he's going to talk a little New Orleans Saints with us. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to jump into some baseball. JG, how are you this morning, sir?
Good morning.
Good morning, fellas.
JG, great to have you here on the show. Obviously, we are in the midst of the World Series. Game 3 of the World Series is tonight. Texas took Game 1. Diamondbacks came back and took Game 2. Before we get into what's going to happen tonight with Game 3, JG, I want you to talk to us a little bit about Ketel Marte. Ketel Marte is not a spring chicken, if you will. He's not some 24-year-old kid out there who's kind of taken the world by storm. Instead, what he is he's an early 30-year-old who's out there taking the world by storm. Just the playoffs have been a coming out party for Ketel Marte. And if you're not a Diamondbacks fan, you maybe you didn't really know who he was coming into these playoffs. But talk to me a little bit about Ketel Marte, because the run the Diamondbacks are on right now would not be possible if not for his contributions. But we don't always see a situation like this where you got a 32 or 33-year-old vet who not many have heard about, who really just kind of turns a playoff run on its head the way he has, doing it with the energy and the swagger of a 22 or a 23-year-old. So what's going on with Ketel Marte over there in Arizona?
Ketel Marte is one of the best kept secrets in Major League Baseball, just because, over the last couple of years or so, Diamondbacks haven't been good. That's the big storyline is, this is a team that lost 110 games 2 years ago. And here we are watching them in the World Series. And Ketel Marte is part of the biggest reason of the transition from that horrible team 2 years ago to what we're seeing today as a World Series contender and potential World Series champion. And it's because of Ketel Marte. They kept him. They've kept him. That Diamondbacks front office, they earmarked Marte as, hey, he's not a superstar that the whole country's going to know, but he is our superstar in Arizona. He is the Energizer Bunny. He is a leader of this clubhouse, and he's been a great leader to Corbin Carroll, who is the essential Rookie of the Year in the National League this year, should be the runaway favorite of the National League Rookie of the Year. And Marte being in there and being part of the young prospect, staying, being able to work his way into being a professional baseball player. That's Ketel Marte, and what he has provided for this club, as well as the other veterans. And again, this is a group of veterans. You don't really sit there and think, man, like that's your leadership group. Is that they fit the personality of what this club is, and it starts with Marte for what he's done. And like as you said, the country's knowing about him now, but he's been doing this for his entire career. He's had moments of up and downs throughout his career, just like every other athlete has and whatnot. But he's been this kind of ball player, this Energizer Bunny, the lead by example, base hits and spring roll on the field, play good defense. I mean, I've had for years. I've wished before Ozzie Albies really came, and been what we say him to be. I've always hoped Ketel Marte would be an Atlanta Brave because of the characteristics that he provides to a clubhouse. It is infectious to the degree of success. And this success right now, and obviously, again, Corbin Carroll is a big part of what this club has been able to achieve. You have Christian Walker, you have Perdomo, you have a lot of guys who have provided the good reason why this team is succeeding. But Ketel Marte has to be the biggest reason for the leadership that he is. He's been there and done it. He's went through the adversity years of the franchise 2-3 years ago, and now he gets to be able to enjoy the successes of this franchise in the World Series. Every team needs to have somebody like Marte, and I'm sure the Arizona Diamondbacks are just so thrilled they kept him during the times where they could have traded him, and now they've seen they're reaping the fruits of their patience and be able to see Marte absolutely just go off and have his coming out party this postseason and even in the World Series.
So tonight, JG, we have Game 3. Like I said, we're tied at 1 heading into Game 3 tonight. Obviously, whenever you have these games in a series, a Game 3, a Game 5, where you go into things tied up, momentum swing is always kind of on the line. Who do you see that momentum swing going to in the series tonight?
Right now, I would say the Diamondbacks have the advantage. They're hitting, and they're doing exactly what they want. It's a different style, as I said to you guys before. It's a different style of offense that you see from both clubs. So the Rangers want to power and outslug you, and the Diamondbacks are wanting to kill you by death by 1,000 cuts. And no more evidence could have been seen between Game 1 of what the Rangers did and the power they showed from Corey Seager, the power they showed of Adolis Garcia, to Game 2, where the Diamondbacks had 16 hits, putting the ball in play, finding holes and scoring runs left and right, and putting 9 runs on the board. There's so many different styles, so many different dynamics that both teams have. But that 16 hits against the Rangers absolutely builds confidence more so, where everybody in that lineup was able to get a hit and be able to just get their feet going in this World Series. I would say that the advantage, especially going with home field now, we're heading to Arizona. The momentum swing is definitely in the Diamondbacks' favor. With the question mark right now, I believe Game 3 is Max Scherzer for the Rangers on the mound, and we don't know, are we going to get a good outing from Scherzer? That's a big question mark right now. And nothing so far from his 2 outings he's had, nothing's shown so far that we're going to see a vintage Max Scherzer start. And if he can only go 3 or 4 innings again, with this offense being able to just put the ball in play and finding holes, it could be a long night for the Rangers. Now, again, that power they have is going to be there. It's going to be on display again. But if this Diamondbacks continues to put 8 hits, 9 hits, 10 hits, 12 hits, this could be very tough for the Rangers to try to come back from, because they can hit the ball. They're relying on that power in the home run. Whereas, again, the Diamondbacks, they spray it. They find ways to manufacture runs. They play good ABC ball, and that's their MO. If they can continue putting 9 and 10, 11 hits, if they can get close to that, this is going to be very tough for the Rangers to try to battle back from, because that's death by 1,000 cuts is the MO of what the offense is for the Diamondbacks.
JG, let's pivot to the NFL a little bit. We're going to talk a little New Orleans Saints football. Mo and I joked around. There was a lot of yelling last week by Mr. Carr. A lot of yelling at his players, a lot of yelling at himself, a lot of yelling at officials. And Mo and I said if he's going to continue to yell this week, it's not going to go the way he wants it to go. And he did yell, but he was yelling in celebration this weekend as the offense kind of got itself going. Let's start with Taysom Hill. Taysom Hill was a huge part of the game yesterday. He was a huge part of the game plan. He was a huge part of their offensive production. JG, obviously what they do with Taysom Hill is unique. He runs the wildcat for them. He is a tight end for them. At times, he is a running back for them. He was a former starting quarterback for them, and he completed a big pass in yesterday's game for them. He literally is a Swiss Army knife that can do almost everything on the offensive side. But you look at him, and then you look at what other teams do, and there's always that conversation, and a lot of non-Saint fans have this conversation, and Mo and I have talked about this before, and that is the talking point of what are you really doing to your offense when you completely stop everything and you bring in Taysom Hill and you put him in the wildcat, and is it killing whatever momentum Derek Carr just built? Is it hurting anything as far as the flow of the game? Well, the answer yesterday was absolutely not. It was an asset to them yesterday. So talk to me a little bit about Taysom Hill and what you see using him forward because I think for the most part, what you've seen when he was used this season is it's been a lot more positive than it has negative. So do you foresee this being something that New Orleans continues to lean into heavier? Because I don't think, or at least from the outside, I don't think Derek Carr has a damn issue with Taysom Hill being in that football game. And that would really be, for me, that would be my only concern. If Derek Carr is cool with it, let's roll with it because he's helping us win games. So what do you see from the Taysom Hill aspect?
Well, what has helped with the Taysom Hill effect is what I like to call it with the Saints offense is go back when Drew Brees was quarterback and Sean Payton was the play caller. Every time they had those two, when Taysom goes in the game and goes his wildcat, runs the ball, let's say he gets his 5-6 yards at that point. Understanding the rhythm has to almost not be reset, but it has to be reestablished on the offense. Well, Drew Brees was just absolutely brilliant on how to handle that side of it. Obviously, Sean gets on the play, but he had opportunities to say, "Hey, I may change it to this, that," and being able to say, "All right, we got our 5-6 yards. Second and 4. Let's go ahead and let's continue the rhythm. Hey, maybe we do another run play here. Maybe we do a short pass." And that was always, if you kind of look, and that was the frustrating times for fans is. It was very predictable after when Taysom ran the ball. We kind of almost expected a short pass coming through it. Now that was to reestablish the rhythm and be able to let Drew Brees, to trust Drew Brees and be able to make the reads to get the offense back on track. This year, it's been a little bit more difficult to keep the rhythm, to reestablish and keep the rhythm going with Pete Carmichael and Derek Carr. I guess in a way they've never understood. I mean, Derek, I'm sure, never in Vegas had anything like this, and never had anybody like Taysom Hill. So understanding that, hey, if you get Taysom, you get your 6 yards. If it's a 2nd and 4, you don't need to go downfield to a post route, and that makes it 3rd and 4. You take what you can get your first down, and now you reestablish the offense moving forward from there. We hadn't seen that until yesterday's game, that they were able to reestablish rhythm. And after Taysom be able to run the ball, or he came in through the ball or whatnot, they able to get back on track. It's almost like it's a script. After that, you have to re-script yourself. We always hear the first 7 to 10 plays of an offense usually is scripted, and then from there they go based off the game is moving. You almost have to treat when Taysom's in the game almost like a 3-play script to reestablish your momentum, to reestablish your rhythm in the offense, to make sure that you don't get stagnant and slow things down, and kind of everything is like, oh, here we go, we got to reestablish. You got to keep the script going, and then once you have it going from there and you're back moving the ball, then you go back to what your game plan was and attacking from there. But it's almost a re-script. It's kind of how I've looked at it. I've talked to some of the people who played football as well. That is the MO of what Sean Payton did. What the MO of what Drew Brees did was almost re-script 3 plays after Taysom came in, and then try to get from there. And does it work? It works sometimes. Does it not work? It sometimes doesn't work, and they have to get to go back from at that point. But if you're going to utilize Taysom like as the Swiss Army knife, run the ball, catch really as a wildcat. Because if he's a tight end, you keep the offense going from there. But when he's at quarterback and he's in his wildcat run the ball position, you have to treat it like it's a brand new game after that, because you have to reset plays that you're having to let Derek Carr come in and reestablish the rhythm with the offense there. And Carr has to be patient. That's another issue that he at the beginning of the year is he didn't really understand how to be patient with the offense when Taysom came in and he comes back to the quarterback spot. He was almost too excited at times. So kind of, I guess in a way I can look at it, was I want to take a shot now. I want to be able to go down deep. Instead of get your first down, get a fresh set of downs, now the offense opens back up for you, and you're able to do what you need to do, what we're trying to establish at that point. But if you can be patient with it, you can produce. And that was a lot why we hadn't seen this offense really maneuver the ball, be able to put the ball in the end zone at times, is we're stagnant with the offense. Yesterday, there was none of that. They were patient. They took shots when they needed to take shots and be able to establish what this offense was supposed to look like. That was the best thing that I remember the first preseason game, and they drove down the field the first drive, and everybody's like, oh, my God, Derek Carr and his offense, this is going to be amazing to watch. This is one of the best offense. We hadn't seen it until yesterday. We finally saw exactly what Derek Carr can do, what the offense itself can do. He has to remain patient, be able to utilize his weapons, get Michael Thomas involved, get Olave involved, get Rashid Shaheed involved, which, my goodness gracious, did they get him involved? and just be able to utilize your weapons. And he finally was able to do that. Just continue to run the offense, be patient when Taysom comes in, and utilize from there.
We saw Derek Carr finally utilize the deep ball effectively and consistently in yesterday's game. He had 3 deep passes. He hit on all of them, 156 yards and a touchdown. It really was a little bit of a mini coming out party for Derek Carr. And like you said, if this is the start of something and this is kind of what the offense looks like going forward, it's taken half the season to get there, JG. But it looks like if this is where we're going, this could be a situation where the offense is finally rounding out into what we thought it was going to be. And the Saints took over first place after this weekend. They're 4-4. They sit on top of their division. It could be a sign of positive things to come if this is what the offense is going to look like moving forward. And next week, the New Orleans Saints have the Chicago Bears. And you would have to hope that the offensive trend is going to continue against that game, because anything can happen offensively against the Bears because they're not that great on defense. But JG, before we get you out of here today, let's talk a little Monday Night Football. You mentioned Derek Carr's previous team. You mentioned the Las Vegas Raiders. They are playing tonight against the Detroit Lions. Detroit is trying to bounce back from an absolute whooping that they took at the hands of the Baltimore Ravens. The Raiders are sitting here like, hey, if the Broncos can knock off Kansas City, why can't we go knock off the Detroit Lions? Like, come on now. Like, we've seen miracles happen this weekend. We can get back to 500. Like, we have a shot here to kind of make a little bit of noise. Who do you like tonight, the Raiders or the Lions?
I like the Lions. I think with how they played and how embarrassed they were against the Ravens, and it was a very embarrassing performance. It just absolutely got off. I can only imagine how Dan Campbell and the colorful language he used after that game, and even probably on Monday and probably on Tuesday and probably on Wednesday, they probably didn't stop. That's just how Dan Campbell is. There's no in between. It's 0 to 100, and he's mostly at 100. So I can only imagine the motivation that he's pushing those guys to bounce back, because now we see you have the Vikings kind of, and I know the Vikings are a question mark now with Kirk Cousins down. Packers look pedestrian. Lions win this game. They're still establishing themselves as the top team in the division. They're still establishing themselves with the Niners losing again yesterday and the Eagles not looking great. The Lions can still establish themselves as a top team in the NFC if they have, but they can't have a game like they did against Baltimore. They have to win this game and put themselves in that conversation to be a contender in this conference. And right now, that's a very likely thing. And I'm still so shocked to even say that here right now about the Detroit Lions. But they cannot let performances like they had against Baltimore slow them down. We've seen right now what happens with the Niners. The Niners are falling after bad performance after bad performance after bad performance. You cannot let bad performances be the consistency for your team. You have to bounce back if you're a contender, and the Lions have to provide that right now. This is a good game to allow that to be if you can, against the Raiders. So you don't, again, unpredictable. We don't know. They might be able to look good. They might be able to look bad. We don't know. But for the Lions to be that contender status, they have to establish that dominance early in this game and just put them away and just say, yeah, hey, we are for real. NFC, you're going to have to deal with us, not just the Eagles, not just the Niners, not just the Cowboys. Well, you have to deal with us too. So this is a statement. And I hate to say that about a team that's 3-4 for the Lions, who they're playing against, the Raiders, but to use a 3-4 opponent, you have to use it as a statement game, saying we're not just going to win this game. We got to beat the crap out of them and send a message to the NFC saying the Detroit Lions are still a contender, regardless of what y'all think. So I like the Lions to bounce back, and I think they're going to show dominance to a point and really establish themselves and send that message out to the NFC that the Detroit Lions are for real.
I think Chris might be having some technical difficulties. I'm not sure. I'm with you 100%, JG, though. I do think the Lions are the better team, and I do think that this game for them, they need to show and prove that they're the team that we saw in the beginning of the season.
Yeah, it's a must. It's a must for and again, that's why I say using an opponent who's 3-4 is a must. It's not necessarily it's a must win, but it's a must dominant win. I think that's a better phrase, is a must dominant win for the Lions to put themselves in that conversation.
And JG, we appreciate you having you here on the morning show with us, and we'll see you tomorrow morning, sir.
Absolutely. Always appreciate it, guys.
Appreciate the knowledge, JG.
Mo, always a pleasure to have JG here on with us in the morning. And right now, we're going to take a quick break here on Coffee and Sports. When we come back, Mo, we are going to break down everything that took place in Week 8 of the NFL season. And by golly, do we have a lot of stuff to get to. And we are going to do that right on the other side of this break. Do not go anywhere. Stay right here with us. It is Coffee and Sports. It is the morning show. And we'll be right back after this.
Hey guys, it's Pavel the Cat.
And Evan Rev Reynolds.
And we are Two Guys in Hockey Talk. We are here every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Mountain Standard Time to talk all things hockey. What do we talk about, Evan?
We talk KHL, AHL, ECHL, every HL hockey league you can think about, prospects, juniors, even the Professional Women's Hockey League.
Yeah, we love it. And we have a website, Two Guys in Hockey Talk. So give us a follow. We got articles on all things related to hockey, and we're writing all throughout the season. So make sure you tune in. We're also on X or Twitter. You can find me at hockey_2, and
you can follow me at Revan Ev. Or you can also go to twoguysandhockeytalk.com to follow everything.
We love hearing from you guys, so make sure you tune in, comment, like, give us a follow on our Facebook and YouTube page. We love hearing from you guys, and it's a blast talking all things hockey, right, Evan?
Hey, man, it is. So, as we say every show, in the meantime and in between time,
keep your sticks on the ice. Cheers.
Cheers.
Good morning and welcome back to Coffee and Sports. It's the morning show here on Sports Empire Network with myself, Chris, and that over there is Mo. Mo, let's get into all of the action that we had from Week 8 of the NFL season. Let's start with the Seattle Seahawks and the Cleveland Browns. And Mo, we talked about this. We talked about how Cleveland, if they don't start getting more consistent play from the quarterback situation, they're going to find themselves in games where the defense does its job and they need a drive from the offense to put the game away, and they're not able to get it done. And that's what we saw in yesterday's game. They were not able to sustain their drives in the second half of the game, which gave Seattle more opportunities to possess the ball on offense. And eventually, and Mo, you say this all the time, you put a good defense on the field long enough, eventually they're going to give up some points. And it's not like the Cleveland defense gave up a bunch of points yesterday, but eventually late in that game, they gave up some points because they were constantly forced to be on the field because the Cleveland offense couldn't sustain long scoring drives or long drives in general in the second half. And as a result, Seattle walks away with a win. Cleveland takes a loss in a game that was right there for them to win, Mo. And if you're looking at Cleveland moving forward in what is a stacked division, everyone is 4-3 in that division except for the Baltimore Ravens, who lead it at 6-2. They got to figure out something at quarterback, don't they?
I think they have to figure something out at quarterback, but they also remember the identity of this football team is offensively, they're a running football team. And we don't bring it up, but obviously the loss of Nick Chubb is devastating. You're talking about one of the 4 or 5 best running backs in all of football, and he's gone. And we don't really talk about that enough, but they bring in other backs, and nobody has really been able to establish themselves as that guy. And when you've got a rookie quarterback in there, even more so, a rookie quarterback's best friend, strong running game, and an active tight end, a tight end that can get down the field, get in the seams. And right now they're struggling. You're right. The defense, it's a terrific defense. But yet, time and again, they find themselves behind on a scoreboard. Their approach is different, and the offense doesn't offer a lot of relief. You don't have to always have a scoring drive. If you can amount 2 or 3 drives that move the ball, allow your defense to catch their breath, you can be effective that way too. That's situational football. That impacts your defense as well. I'm looking at Cleveland, and we talk a lot about teams that may need a quarterback. This is a team that's got Deshaun Watson on their bench, not healthy, and we don't know when he's going to be healthy. And if they're going to have to keep putting Walker out there, I don't think their season is going to go the way that they were projected to go. And it's nothing against Walker. I think he's played admirable. He's competed hard, but you can tell clearly he's not ready. He's not ready for this. Not at least on a consistent basis. So I'm looking at Cleveland, and unless they can get an identity and establish that ground game, I think they will continue to struggle no matter who they play. And that's too bad because, like the Jets, they've got one of the best defenses in football. But you can only do so much. If you're on the field 75, 80 plays, that's a lot of plays. That's way too many plays. And you're asking a lot even of great defensive players. So I look at Cleveland, and I do think that they can either establish a run game or maybe make a trade. Constantly we're talking about this quarterback going here, this quarterback going there. Maybe with Cleveland, they don't trade for a quarterback, but they actually pursue the underrated, the underappreciated running back. Maybe they go get Derrick Henry. It's needed. If they're going to save their season, they've got to find a way to move the football consistently, and they need a strong run game.
The Denver Broncos shocked the football world yesterday when they knocked off the Kansas City Chiefs. But Mo, they didn't just knock off the Kansas City Chiefs. We are talking about a Denver Bronco football team that in week 3 of the NFL season gave up 70. I said 70. They gave up 70 points on defense in the NFL. Fast forward 5 weeks, and they don't allow a touchdown to Patrick Mahomes. Third time in his NFL career that he hasn't found the end zone, or his team hasn't found the end zone in a game that he has started at quarterback. It doesn't happen very often. It happened yesterday. I know that he was having flu-like symptoms. I know that he had to take the IV before the game. I know that he probably wasn't at 100%. But Mo, I'm not going to sit here and make excuses for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. You couldn't score a touchdown against a team that allowed 70 points. That's 10 touchdowns, Mo, and you couldn't get one. So is this the end of the Chiefs? No. Do I hope there's a little bit of a hangover in Germany next weekend? Absolutely. But I will tell you right now, we said this before and we continue to say this. Because of the weapons this team doesn't have, there's going to come times, and this is one of those times, that they're in situations where Travis Kelce isn't enough. They're going to have situations this season where other people need to do things. And that's what happened with Denver yesterday. They found themselves in a situation where they weren't able to go to Travis early to build the lead. They weren't able to build up the 10, 14-point lead and then kind of control the pace of the game on their own. Denver took that away from them. They were playing from behind early. So as a result, you needed other guys besides Travis Kelce to start making plays for your team. And they weren't able to do it. We saw drop balls yesterday. And we saw that earlier in the season too with Kansas City. And we were like, oh no, this is going to be an issue. But then the Chiefs rattled off a bunch of wins. And a lot of those games were close. But they rattled off a bunch of wins, Mo. And people were like, no, they're fine. They're fine. Mahomes, he can do it with anybody. But here's another example, Mo, of where we needed the receivers to step up, and they couldn't. So now you're seeing a couple of times this season where it was needed, and it didn't happen. What do you make of what Kansas City has going on?
Their problems are well documented. Their weaknesses, we all know. As I watched the game yesterday, to be fair to Patrick Mahomes, I think he had like at least 4 or 5 drop passes. At least. So there were opportunities there, but those were guys that weren't named Travis Kelce. You spoke about that. Those guys have to make plays, and they've proven they can't consistently do that. And guess what? Credit to the Denver Broncos, credit to Vance Joseph. You're right. A team that got hung 70 on them actually was smart enough to say, let's cover Travis Kelce. Let's double Travis Kelce. Let's be physical with Travis Kelce at the line of scrimmage. And they mixed up their coverage. At one point, he went to a 3-4. And just had bodies all over the place. And he confused Patrick Mahomes multiple times. And I think to his credit, that's what you have to do against a guy like Patrick Mahomes. When you know that he doesn't really have those weapons, if you take away his primary, you're not really afraid of those other wide receivers. You're not, and it showed yesterday. Look, Denver's offense, they didn't have 400 or 500 total offense. They had a short side of the field because they won the turnover battle. To their credit, when winning that turnover battle, they did execute. Russell Wilson was very good in the red zone yesterday. Credit to him. If you look at his numbers, I believe Russell Wilson didn't throw for 125 yards for the game. I think Sean Payton's got him almost running a high school offense. They won the game, but offensively, the way he's calling the game, he is calling plays not to lose. He's calling plays not to turn the ball over. That was a big win for Denver, but to me, that game said more about Kansas City. You're right. Even playing badly, I would have thought Kansas City would beat Denver. If Denver played their very best and Kansas City was just struggling, I still expected the Chiefs to find a way to win. I am not. But this has been a bizarre NFL season, and I do think there's no question Kansas City will get to the playoffs. But if the goal is to win the Super Bowl, what he was able to do last year in the Super Bowl, I don't think he's going to be able to pull off that miracle again with what he has on the outside and just Travis Kelce. I think that's asking a lot more than even Patrick Mahomes can do consistently.
Mo, if I told you that the Denver Broncos who have lost 16 straight games to the Kansas City Chiefs, the Denver Broncos who last time when they beat the Kansas City Chiefs, their quarterback was Peyton Manning. If I told you the Denver Broncos played the Chiefs this weekend and Russell Wilson was 12 for 19 for 114 yards, you would look at me and say, oh, KC won by 21, didn't they?
Right. Right.
No, they did not. Russell also had 3 touchdown passes, and Denver almost won by 21. It was absolutely wild what we saw yesterday from the Broncos. I'm concerned because Andy Reid doesn't lose 2 games in a row very often.
No.
So I'm concerned for the Dolphins in Germany next weekend, this upcoming weekend. I'm concerned that we're going to get an angry Kansas City Chiefs team. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Like you said, this is a situation that it's going to pop up from time to time. It's clearly not going to get any better unless they make wholesale changes in that wide receiver room. And we will have to see how the Chiefs address it going forward. But there's going to be games where those receivers are inconsistent and they don't catch open balls like they should. And this is going to be the result of it. They're going to press. They're going to try to force it to Kelce more. Mahomes is going to try to put the cape on. And sometimes it will work. And sometimes you're going to turn the ball over 5 times. And that's what we saw in yesterday's game.
And when they play against the better defenses are going to roll their coverages to Kelce and make you have to make plays with those receivers.
100%. Also yesterday, we saw the San Francisco 49ers unfortunately lose their 3rd straight game. They fall to 5-3 against a very up-and-coming, looking like they should have looked when Joe Burrow was injured, but now he's not injured. The Bengals look good, sir. The Bengals look like a team that are on the verge of taking over the NFC North once they have the opportunity to play the Ravens again and they can get some more games under their belt. What did you see yesterday defensively from the San Francisco 49ers? And more importantly, Mo, let's talk a little bit about Brock Purdy, and we'll save that for the second half of this conversation. But what did you see defensively from the Niners?
So defensively, and it's been my concern all season long, and I told you, even when they were winning, if you can spread them out, you can find matchups and you can attack the San Francisco 49ers vertically. Their secondary, they're good zone coverage guys, but they're not great man coverage guys. They really aren't, not as a unit. And I was worried about this game coming in. Of course, I was going to root for the Niners to win. I didn't feel great about it. And sure enough, Joe Burrow spreads them out and he attacks them in the seams. He attacks them in the short passing game, and then he attacks them vertically. And it put them on their heels. A lot of people will say they lost the game and they've been struggling because of what the offense is doing. The defense, the last 3 games, they haven't looked that great. Joe Burrow was under pressure, not much at all yesterday. They got after him maybe a couple times, but for the better part of that game, he was clean. He was clean. The San Francisco 49ers front 7, especially that front 4, they're struggling. They're struggling. I don't know where Bosa is. It feels like Bosa's injured. I know he's not. I know he's in the game. You don't hear his name. When you don't hear your name called enough and you're playing, that is a problem. So right now, I'm looking at the 49ers, and they're not getting any pressure on the quarterback. And when you don't get pressure, if you don't get pressure and you've got a great secondary, at some point they can get exposed. If you don't get pressure and your secondary isn't the strength of your team, they're going to get exposed. So consistently now, the blueprint with the Niners is you come out and you attack them vertically. And that's what teams are doing. And it puts them on their heels. Like, if you win the coin toss, what do most teams do? They want to put their strongest unit on the field, right? So they always go with the defense first. The defense is coming out, and teams are moving the ball down the field on them, and they're instantly on their heels. You said this when we made our picks on Friday. If the Bengals score more than 20 points, they can't win the game. Well, they scored much more than 20 points. The Niners can't win that game. That is not an offense that is built for a shootout, especially when your quarterback is struggling.
The Sunday Night Football crew made a really great point when it came to the 49ers, and they were focusing on their defense. And they talked about how the Niners don't disguise what they're doing on defense. Usually what you see pre-snap is what you get. And in the past, it hasn't been an issue because they've been so talented on the defensive side of the ball, and everyone on the defensive side of the ball, for the most part, was winning their matchups, that even if you knew what you were getting, you still couldn't do a lot with it because people were winning on the defensive side of the ball for the Niners. But Mo, like you said, now they're not. We're not seeing or hearing Bosa's name because he's not winning on the defensive side. The defensive line, although good, isn't getting leverage like it was last season and earlier this season. They're not winning as much. So when they're not winning as much up front, what happens? It puts more pressure on the backside. And you've acknowledged, Mo, the backside is not the strongest side of that defensive unit. So when the secondary is getting pressure put on it, it's caving in more often than not. So, and again, I hate to do this to Kyle Shanahan, but maybe, Kyle Shanahan needs to look at his defensive side of things and say, hey, we don't have to be the team that has all this swagger that says we're going to punch you in the face this way, and then we go try to do it this way. Why don't we do what every other defense in the league does, and let's disguise our stuff a little bit, Mo? Let's not say that we're so good that we can tell you what we're going to do, and then we go do it. Let's trick you a little bit. Let's do what every other team in the league does and try to switch things up a little bit so you don't know what's coming. But again, that kind of goes to the aura that is Kyle Shanahan, the I'm better than you aura, we're going to do it my way or the highway because I'm that good kind of aura. And I'm just wondering if that's part of what we're seeing on defense and why the defense hasn't adapted a little bit. Because if you look at the defense these last 5 games and you just look at what they're doing on their side of the ball, there's not a lot of switching once the ball is snapped. What the read is prior to the ball being snapped, more often than not, is what they're producing when the ball is snapped.
Agreed.
And if NFL quarterbacks, good, bad, and different, are figuring that out, then that's going to be an issue moving forward. Now, Mo, before we move on, I do want to discuss Brock Purdy real quick. We're going to discuss both how he played and what Marlon brought up in the chat with his concussion issues. Mo, I was very surprised that he started this football game.
I was as well.
Living in the world that I live in with Tua Tagovailoa, I was shocked they cleared him to play this game and that he actually played the game. And I watched the play where his head bounced off the ground and he got up holding his head. And the first thing I said was, they're going to pull him right now because he's coming off a concussion. He clearly just banged his head off the ground, and he didn't stumble or anything, but he got up holding his head. So I was like, this is going to be a trip to the blue tent just to check him out.
For sure.
And then there was nothing. And as a Dolphin fan, I look at this and I'm like, what the F are we doing? Because Tua sneezes the wrong way last season in Miami, right. And he's in his goddamn blue tent. So now you're looking at a quarterback who had a concussion, was in concussion protocol, somehow cleared concussion protocol in 6 days at the quarterback position, bounces his head off the ground, and it's not worth a look. So it was interesting to me, Mo, just looking at the dichotomy of what happens with Tua compared to what happens with the rest of the league at that position. But looking at Brock Purdy's performance yesterday, and again, I hate to harp on the concussion thing, but there was even a point in the broadcast where they were talking about Brock's performance, and they mentioned him being in concussion protocol this week. And they acknowledged, in their opinion, well, he's not playing poorly because of concussion protocol. How do you know?
Right.
What do you mean? Like, we've become so dismissive of head injuries for quarterbacks in weeks that we are on the air just saying, no, it's not because he was he's fine. Concussion protocol, concussion schmotocol.
Right.
Like, what are we talking about here? Saying it might be a part of why. And I'm not saying it was, Mo. That was why he was playing bad. But I'm just saying, damn, we've done a 180 in 2 months when it comes to head injuries for quarterbacks, to the point where our analysts on the air are discrediting the fact that a head injury 6 days ago might be leading to some of his poor play 6 days later.
Nope, it means nothing to them, I guess. No impact.
Nothing at all.
Nothing at all.
What did you see out of Brock Purdy yesterday?
One, I'm with you. I was surprised that he played. I was even more stunned when he hit his head on the back of the turf. I thought like you, he was done. He was done. And the fact that he went on to play, look, the kid is a gamer. He is a gamer. But if I'm just looking at him and analyzing what he's doing on the field, two things. One, he's zoning in and locking his eyes on his primary receiver too often. And what he was known for the first part of his career, and it's a short career, what he was known for was taking care of the football. But in the last 3 games, he's got 5 picks. He's also got 2 lost fumbles. The Niners are not just losing football games, they're losing the turnover game. And I think right now with Brock Purdy, they're getting behind in football games. And I don't think he's comfortable having to be the guy that throws the ball 35, 40 times. I don't think that's what you want from him anyway. He's trying to make plays. I don't think he played awful yesterday. He had 2 bad picks. Look, the one pick wasn't even a pick. The guy literally just took the ball out of his hands. That was more like a robbery. He just snatched the ball out of his hands. I've never seen that before. They counted that as an interception, but that was more like an on-the-field mugging. I think that Brock Purdy is struggling, but I also believe, and this is really simple for me, there's not a better option on that roster than Brock Purdy. Now,
no, 100%, sir.
Right. There's not a better, even Steve Young over there is not a better option than Brock Purdy. But if he's compromised in any way, while I want to win as much as any fan, I don't want him on the field. I don't want him hurt. I don't want the risk of him being hurt to where he misses significant time or he injures himself in a way that impacts his career going forward. They need to treat him. And you're right. You make a great point. With Tua, everything is, oh my God, he went to his knees, life or death, and he's got to sit out. Purdy got banged to the ground hard twice yesterday, and the expected trip to the tent never happened. And that blew my mind. So I feel like because of Tua's history, the league is all over Tua no matter what he does. He kind of gets special treatment in a negative way. Maybe he's hurt and maybe he's not. But I think that all quarterbacks or all players should be treated that way, the same way. If you get hit to the ground, if you just come off a concussion and you take that kind of an impact, you at a minimum you got to go to the blue tent. At a minimum. So I'm disappointed in the loss. At the same time, as a fan of football, I'm impressed with the way the Bengals have righted themselves. The way that Joe Burrow has finally gotten healthy, and he looks like Joe Burrow, the only quarterback that could really get with Patrick Mahomes, right? He's that guy again. He's Joe Burrow. He's got 3 gifted wide receivers, and they're flinging the football. Their defense is bend or break. They're solid, but it looks like the Bengals have righted that ship. I look at the Niners, 3 losses in a row. Purdy's got to play better, but Brock Purdy is not the reason why the Niners are 5-3. Your defense, like you said, is supposed to be one of the more dominant defenses in the league, and they've got cracks, not just in the back end. That front 4 that was so devastating that could get after you, minimal impact the last 3 games. And I really look at the team right now, and you start to see the finger pointing, and that's never good. This is where Kyle Shanahan has to show some leadership. And this is where he helps his defense out and goes, I'm not going to try to overcall the game. We've got Christian McCaffrey. Let's run the football more. Let's establish the run game more and get Brock Purdy back to where he's throwing about 20, 25 passes a game.
Yeah, Mo, watching the Dolphin game yesterday, Tua, he had a 3rd down play, like a 3rd and 8. He dropped back, the middle of the field opened. He ran for like 11 yards. He slid, didn't take a shot. As soon as he popped up, the commentators, well, you don't want Tua doing that. You don't want Tua running with the football.
Right.
My man's not in bubble wrap out there.
He's not the bubble boy. He's a football player.
Like,
he's a
come on now. All right, Mo.
Speaking of which, salute to Tyreek Hill. He did that thing, man.
He did his thing. He's first for over 1,000 yards, doing his thing. All right, Mo, we got 60 seconds left. Who do you like tonight, Raiders or the Lions?
With the Lions, I say Hulk smash. I think the Lions win. To be fair, though, if you told me the Raiders would have 3 wins, nobody would be more shocked than I would. So salute to Raiders Nation. Wow.
Yeah, three wins isn't we were talking about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago, that y'all weren't going to win a game. We didn't see anything positive on your schedule. We thought maybe 1 or 2 wins for the year. You're at the halfway point and you're going for your 4th win. So, clap it up, done. Raiders Nation. All right.
Well done.
And you're doing this with Jimmy G in and out of the lineup, your backup quarterback in and out of the lineup. So props to you, but I'm also going to go Lions tonight. I think they're upset. I think that they need to reestablish themselves as a dominant force in the NFC, and I think they're going to use the Raiders to do that. Mo, great way to kick off the week here.
Yes.
There's a couple things we didn't get to today, and we're going to get to those tomorrow. So make sure you're back here, same time, same place tomorrow for the morning show. We're going to finish covering week 8 of the NFL season. We're going to wrap up Monday Night Football. We're going to talk some Los Angeles Lakers, and we are going to continue pushing forward with you every morning here on Coffee and Sports. Mo, close us out, sir.
Appreciate everybody in the chat. Hey, thanks for watching us. Share this. Check out all the great content offered to you at Sports Empire Network. We appreciate you.
We'll see you right here, same time, same place tomorrow morning. It's the morning show with Chris and Mo here on Sports Empire Network. Until then.
I mean, you can see right now, without LeBron, Lakers are struggling.
Let me tell you about a team I hate, all right? I know the Dallas Cowboys fan is here, so I had to make sure he knew how much I hate this team.
I'm ready.
I've often said that the people who run baseball, they try very hard to ruin it.
I'm from Brooklyn. I don't have a problem saying it to his face.
Oh, I'm from Brooklyn.
Hey, guys, any